You're listening to the Sacred Mama Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Ray, aka the Sacred Mama. I'm a mindset and relationship coach, helping mothers nurture the relationship between themselves, their spouse, and their children. This is also sometimes inside of a co-parenting relationship. This podcast was designed specifically for mothers, stepmothers, and soon-to-be mothers to come together and truly support one another, to have the real, raw, honest, unfiltered, and soulful conversations about the realities of motherhood. My goal is for mothers to reclaim their self-worth and reclaim their self-identity while navigating motherhood. It's time you treated yourself as a priority because most of all, you matter. I believe that you can have the thriving family life. I believe that you can have the booming business. And I believe that you can have the passionate and abundant relationship. Most of all, I believe you can fully love yourself in the now without sacrifice. Throughout this podcast, you'll gain access to the minds of industry leaders and of course solo episodes by yours truly. So, let's dive in.
So hello, welcome to day one of the Reclamation of Motherhood Summit. Today I have with me Sarah Bauer-Scott, and we are going to be talking about positive parenting and letting go of the parenting struggles. So we are so happy for you. We are happy you're here. We're so happy for you. And so I want to introduce Sarah a little bit here, and then we're just going to dive right in for you guys. So we're going to be looking back and forth to check on comments and any questions you have. So please do not hesitate to ask the questions. But first, so for those of you who have never seen Sarah before, but I'm sure from the posts and all the things, you've probably, snooped a little bit. But Sarah is a certified positive discipline parent educator. Okay, so what this means is that she works with struggling parents of 3 to 12-year-old kids to help them stop losing it on their kids and create strong connection with cooperation. There we go. And so this conversation is going to be incredible. It's going to be powerful. And so before we dive in, Sarah, I want to ask you about what this summit means to you, and if there's anything else that you would like to share with everybody who's on with us right now, and then we'll dive in.
Okay. This summit actually, at first it was just kind of like, oh yeah, I love working with Kara. And of course I'm going to say yes because Kara is a friggin' rock star. But as the momentum built and I, started following the other women in the summit, it became this amazing, like, Kara asked me to be a part of all of this, and so it was just like wow, I get to be a part of this, and I get to be with all of these super cool women, just blasting our message out there and lifting up the women who are here watching and getting the freebies. And yeah, it's just been so exciting. I have this thing where there's like, when I'm watching a parade and there's like the whole crowd mentality and it's like the rays of emotions and I actually cry because it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. That's how I felt about this. It was just like the whole rush of the buildup and the emotions. And yeah, so that is what this summit means to me. And anything else I want to share with you? Yeah, no, you introduced me beautifully, so we can carry on.
Okay, so I know that there's a few that have hopped on. So hi Gina, hi Erin, hi Brady, hello, hi Deanna. Thank you for joining us. If I've missed anyone, my apologies, you guys. We've probably got a lag between the two, but okay, so we're gonna dive right into this conversation. This is gonna be good. And so the first question I really want to ask you is just, what is positive parenting? Because I feel like this could also be not necessarily broad, but some people are probably like, what is positive parenting? Like, I know
right.
What positivity is.
So there is actually a parenting philosophy called positive parenting. It's not what I do. So what I do is positive discipline, and it's a little bit different in that you are you're problem solving with your kids. So you're setting aside punishment, you're setting aside shame, And you are actually looking at your kids' behavior as a message that sometimes you have to decode because kids don't have the best communication skills. Sometimes adults don't have the best communication skills, but kids' brains are not fully developed, so their communication skills can just be a bit awry.
It's saying the video ended.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh, we're back. No, we're not. Is this the replay? Yeah, no, it's saying we're not live anymore.
What the fudge is happening right now? Okay. Okay. Let's just.
Oh yeah, I see it. I see it on my screen too. We are live.
Okay, so sorry guys, I have no idea what is going on with Zoom and Facebook right now, but we're going to carry on. We're going to just continue, and we're going to just start with the question of what is positive parenting, right? And the positive discipline. So we're going to start from there. For those of you that are watching this, you're going to have to go and watch the beginning of the other video and then come back to this one. Our apologies. Facebook difficulties, but Sarah, I'm going to let you take it away again. I'm going to watch this like a hawk and ensure that we are good to go. So take it away.
Okay. So positive discipline is really setting aside punishment and connecting with your kids so that you can decode their behavior to find out what's underneath that, seeing mistakes as learning opportunities, and really partnering with your kids to problem solve and let them incorporate their ideas and be just really contributing members of your family. So that's what positive discipline is. And I love to say that it's, not just raising kids, but helping to create some pretty freaking awesome adults.
I love that. And I love the description. And I know that the whole reason why I asked you that is because we're going to be talking all about, the discipline. We're going to be talking about the positivity. We're going to be talking about the connection with our children. And so I felt that it was very important to start off with what positive parenting and positive discipline is. And so really what I want to move into is I want to ask you, how has this impacted your life? How has this impacted your family dynamic from your personal experience? Because as moms, we relate to different personal experience. And so let us know, how has this impacted your life?
Sure. So my story is I used to be that mom who I really suffered from a lot of just heaviness and perfectionism, and I didn't ever think I was doing it right. And so that came out as a lot of shame from me, and I was the mom who was losing her shit on her kids all the time. And there was a point where I looked at what was going on in my family and went, wow, my kids are kind of stuck here now because they can't move out. But once they're adults and they leave, they're not going to want to come back and hang out with me. And that just ripped me apart. I was like, something needs to change. And so long journey to finding a parenting philosophy that I felt like really jived with who I wanted to be as a parent and how I wanted to treat my kids and how I want my kids to go out in the world and treat other people. And so positive discipline, my kids will tell you, my mom yells so much less. And they do, it's funny because nobody's perfect, right? And so there are those odd times where I'm like, I'm gonna lose it, and my kids are like, remember to be positive, Mom. And it's just so I have these little reminders now, which sometimes it's annoying. Let's be honest, it's not fun to have your kids be like, Mom, remember. But it's also a little reminder, or a little check myself, and maybe I need a little bit of a timeout. Maybe I need to go and breathe. Maybe I need to go and journal so that I can come back and be kind to my kids. And that's really somebody I want to be. I want to be kind to my kids, and I want my kids to know that I am their ally and not their enemy. And that is something that has come to fruit in our family, is that my kids know, my 3-year-old, one of the things he says all the time is, Mom, got a big problem. And I love that he just comes to me and is like, there's a problem here. Like, and he just has grown up in that because he came along after positive discipline hit the fan, I guess, in our house. And so it's like part of the culture of our family now that it's just, okay to make mistakes and it's okay to have problems.
Well, and I think that's beautiful because really in this world, in our journey of life, like we are bound to make some mistakes. There is bound to be some failures. And instead of looking at that in a negative lens, having this like open perspective, this positive perspective on, the good, the bad, the ugly, like everything together, that there doesn't have to be shame. There doesn't have to be this worry about coming forward about something that might not be working for you. I think that's beautiful because I know we've talked about this a few times, but the impact that it has had on my children alone, when you sat there and you said, my mom doesn't yell as often anymore, that is powerful because my kids will say the exact same thing. Like my stepchildren will say, you're not so angry anymore. You're not so mad. You actually sit and you talk to us. And I feel like I can come in and have a conversation with you. Like it builds trust. And I want my children to feel as though that they can come here and that it is a safe place for them to be themselves, for them to know that it's okay to make a mistake, but to take responsibility for those things. Yeah. And so this is beautiful. And I know I'm going to look at these comments soon, but I know that there is, there was one comment I saw that there was like how they're loving this. And so I want to, dive right into, for someone who is really struggling and they're going through that family dynamic where they feel like they're constantly yelling and they're constantly feeling overwhelmed and stressed and they just don't want to yell anymore. Like what would be the first step, the first guidance that you would give to a mom who's really struggling with this?
You know what? The very first thing that I would do is say, it's okay to leave the situation. Like it is the biggest trigger I come across is kids who are emotionally dysregulated and then the parents who are mirroring that, right? Like that's a big thing. And so it is okay to just learn what your shark music is. And those are the signs that your body is giving you that you're about to lose it. You're about to attack your kids, right? And so learning what your shark music is and picking up on those little signals that tell you, I need to walk away. I need to take 3 steps away and take a breath. I need to, I need to go downstairs and fold some laundry and really figure out what your thing is. Like, figure out, do you need to go and scribble on a page? Do you need to yell in a pillow? Do you need, figure out what your stop mechanism is.
I love how you called it your shark music. Like that is something that everyone will remember. Like to me, that stands out right away. And even this weekend, it's that awareness, it's the mindfulness, it's the being aware of like our behaviors and how we also, we're teaching our kids that they have the power to recognize their emotions, but we also have to do the same thing. And even this weekend, my kids were all over the place. They were just like to a point where I ended up having to say to my husband, like, I do not want to lose my shit. And I'm so close that I just need a moment. And I'm human. Like, this is the important that we come on here and we have these conversations is because I've yelled at my kids. I've yelled at my kids to the point where I have cried because I've yelled that loud. Okay. And I've cried because I've hurt their feelings. And so here, like, we're having the honest, the vulnerable conversations because this is, we can make the conscious choice not to yell. We can have the awareness. We can sit back and we can actually honor what we're also feeling. Like, we're humans, okay? We're having a human experience at all times. But I think that's beautiful to be aware of like what our shark music is. And now I'm like, all I can think of is constantly saying like, donna, donna.
Yeah. And I'll tell you right now, like anger shark music happens from the chest up. Your chest gets tight, your jaw clenches, your eyebrow furrow. Your eyebrow gets crunchy. Yes. Your shoulders hunch. Like, it happens from the chest up. So that's usually the signals that your body's going to give you. Your face feels flushed, that sort of thing.
I resonate with that completely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I really struggled previously with my kids and even with my own temper and with, you know, because there was like this struggle of me wanting to control them. There was a struggle of trying to understand, why aren't my kids listening to me? And I was like playing into almost this victim mentality as a mom of saying, oh, woe is me, poor is me. My kids aren't listening. I have to control them. And if I'm not controlling them, but like, I want to really dive into this whole control aspect, because when it comes to like positive, like discipline parenting, at the end of the day, like parenting is not about controlling your kids. Like, it's not about controlling your kids.
No.
Like, they are these beautiful beings that are able to experience this world in ways that blow my mind, that I wish I almost could still tap into that, which I could. But I want to let you kind of like go with the whole control aspect, because there's this big thing where even my parents, when they were younger, it was, well, you're not controlling your kids. You know, if your kids aren't listening, then, you know, you're not controlling them properly. You're not disciplining them enough. And so I'm just going to let you go with that. I hope that makes sense on which direction you can go with that. But
sure. And if I'm going off into left field, let me know. And that was right. But this is left. If I'm going off into left field, then let me know. But yeah, so I mean, one of the things that happens when we punish our kids or when we try to control them is they resent us. They become sneaky. Like, did you ever go and sit in your bedroom and think, you know what, next time I'm just gonna make a better decision, and I'm gonna, you know, like, no kid ever thinks that. Every kid who goes into timeout is like, I hate my parents, next time I'm gonna do this so they don't find out. And yeah, it doesn't work. Like, it's just, there's maybe that rare kid who was grounded and was like, yep, I shouldn't do any more bad things, but I have never met one. So, so it just doesn't work. Whereas, you know, if you're holding space for that kid who is having those big emotions, or you're holding space for that possibly, you know, older kid who has made a mistake, right? Because we all make mistakes navigating relationships, life, that sort of thing. If you are coming alongside them and holding space and encouraging them, saying, you know what, you've got this. I value your ideas. Hey, Kara, can you still hear me? Okay. I thought you froze. But like, I value your ideas. You're a competent human being, and I'm right here beside you to help you move through this. Then you become a trusted friend. You become a parent who has influence over your kids, instead of that bitch who sends them to timeout, instead of the mom who is overbearing and grounding her kid and just acting out of anger and not really a whole lot of logic or kindness or love. Yeah.
Well, and you know, I want to just touch on the you know, when a kid sits down in their room, they think about, you know, oh my gosh, I should never do that again. Regarding, you know, my kids this past weekend and things that happened, my stepdaughter actually like wrote in she ripped out paper and like wrote in it like, I'm not sorry, Kara. I could have been so angry, because this took me back to a moment when I was a kid, and, you know, my stepmom and my dad read my diary. And that is something I will never do to my kids. You know, my daughter, was helping her clean her room and she had it just laying on her bed. So I read it, it was there. But I said to her, like, I'm not angry at you for expressing your feelings into a book. I'm not angry because what I did made you upset. And at that moment, you didn't forgive me. You didn't want to forgive me because being angry or frustrated, or that made you upset. And so I also, instead of being pissed like my parents did, and they made me feel horrible, and I ended up getting grounded because I wrote in what was supposed to be a private space, I said to her, you know, you're allowed to express your feelings, but please, you know, I want you to know that you can come to me. You can still be frustrated with me. You can still be angry, but you can still come and talk to me. Like, let me know how you're feeling. And she was like, really, I can do that? It's like, yes, you can, because you have feelings. And it was just one of those moments where I took something that I had learned as a child that I did not appreciate my parents doing and that I did not agree with. And instead of doing the same, I did something different that then also empowered my stepdaughter to then realize she can express her feelings and that her feelings are valid, but that she can also still trust me, even though she was a little pissed.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And I think something that parents do, and I know I've done it, when they put their kids into timeout, or they put their kids, or they ground their kids, they don't give them any tools to manage those big emotions. And so
100%.
we have something called positive timeout around here. We actually call it cool off time. And my kids have a lot of choice in that, because when you can figure out how to regulate your own emotions, you're golden, right? Like, there are adults who cannot figure out how to regulate their emotions. But when you are 8 years old and you can tell me, Mom, I would like some paper, some music, and a book and a stuffed animal in my cool down space. And I'm like, golden. Yeah, absolutely. Take it. And you know, a lot of people would say, you're just letting her play. Yes, I am. That is how her brain regulates. That is how, like, stories help our brain to soothe itself. Like, I want her to come down. So that's the purpose of that cool off space, is to have tools to bring the emotions down and not to punish her for whatever infraction has happened.
So I actually really love this, and I want to kind of like ask you another question on the back end of this, is that after, you know, they spend some time in their like cool down space, like what do you do after? Like, do you initiate like a conversation after? Do you allow it to just kind of be what it is? Like, what do you do after? Because that's a beautiful practice to actually like implement into everyone's home. And so I just kind of want to know, what do you do after that?
It depends on whether there is a problem to be solved still or not. Maybe it was just, she's grumpy because her sister was angry at her, and she's also kind of hungry and didn't sleep well the night before and just needs some space, and that's cool. And when she comes out, you know, we'll probably hug. And I say she, I don't do this so much with my bigger kids anymore. They can kind of deal with that themselves. And so it's like my littlest too, and it's mostly my 8-year-old, because my 3-year-old, we're just coming into that phase. So my 8-year-old, you know, if there's some sort of problem that still needs to be solved, we'll come together, we'll hug, we'll snuggle, and I'll say, hey, will you brainstorm with me? And we'll take out paper, and I will write down every single idea that she has to solve that problem. I don't care what the idea is. And there's 2 reasons for that. One, even bad ideas beget good ideas. Like, if you've ever just sat down to brainstorm for a project or something, and, you know, even the wildest, craziest ideas can be like, oh, maybe not that, but this might work. And that just is a springboard for that. Also, I just want her to know that her ideas are valuable, and it doesn't matter how crazy or wild they are. Like, big ideas are gold. Like, I say gold a lot, but they are just like big ideas. There's so many people who are like, oh, that idea is too big, I can't do that. And I want my kids to know, like,
on all the big
there
ideas.
you have really fantastic things that you think and do, and I want you to reach for the stars. And so, this is an important idea. It might not work out right now, but maybe some other time, or maybe it will be a springboard for another really great idea. So, and then we go through it, and we circle the ideas that we think are going to work for right now, and we create a plan together that's like, okay, so what do you think you will do next time? And I let her tell me, because that way she's taking ownership of that behavior. And when you take ownership of your behavior, you're a lot more likely to follow through.
And I love that. The whole awareness piece around taking responsibility, you know, that has been pivotal with our kids, is that we have taught them that, you know, their actions, they make a choice. and they have an opportunity to also make a different choice if they so choose. And so we've had the conversation with them about taking responsibility for their actions and the words that they speak, because it's nobody else that's doing that to them. You know, even if they feel pressured by someone to do something and they do it, they still made the decision to do it. And so we talk to them about their choices and about how everything has an action and a reaction. And we encourage them to be very mindful of the decisions that they make, because it can affect someone else. And, you know, my stepdaughter actually made a choice that then, you know, affected her brother and then her mom. And I got her to recognize that it wasn't just her, and it wasn't just like what was going on with her that was causing something. It then triggered her brother, and it then triggered her mom, and then it then triggered all these other things. And she sat there and said, wow. And we talk about our feelings. You know, I want to talk about this with you too. Like, do you talk to your children a lot about like their feelings? Because there's this big discussion around like speaking to your kids in a way that they can hear you and they respond really well through feelings. And so does this resonate with you? Am I like totally off kilter here?
Oh yeah, no. We talk about feelings all the time. In fact, so much that my bigger kids are like, yeah, I know your feelings, Mom. but really, I mean, yeah, we talk about things, you know, everything from feelings are temporary, like probably in an hour you're not going to feel the same way, to, you know, like, hey, to validating feelings. Hey, I can see that you're feeling really angry right now that you're not eating Jell-O for dinner. Like, so yeah, it's two opposite ends of the spectrum and everything in between, right? We just go through like, I can see that you're really angry right now.
Yeah.
But in an hour, it's going to feel better. What can we do right now so that you can move through this easier?
So I actually want to ask you in regards to, you know, because even personally, so like my stepson, when he escalates very quick. And sometimes we don't even know what's happened. Like 1 second he's laughing with us and the next second he's losing his mind. And so what do you do in that instant? You know, like I know you were talking about how there's this space that they can go to, but my stepson, he's 12, like he's almost 13. And so he's getting to this point where, you know, he knows that his room is his area that he can go to, but we also want to encourage him to talk about these big emotions that he's feeling. And so like when a child, for example, escalates very quickly, you know, what would be something that you would recommend to do to kind of get them to be open to speaking or redirect them, for example?
Right. So a couple of things. The first thing is, and I'm blanking. What? So have a conversation with him. That's what it is. Yeah. Connect. But have a conversation with him outside of that, and let it look something like, you know, you being curious. So hey buddy, I don't know your stepson's name, but hey buddy, I noticed that sometimes your emotions get really big really fast. Can you tell me what's going on when that happens? And just letting him you know, talk about it outside of the actual escalation, because when we're escalated, we're working out of our fear center in our brain and nothing is getting in or out that's logical. Like it's, you know, there's panic and there's just big emotions that don't even really make sense a lot of the time. And then just asking, what can we do to help you in those situations? Like, what are some of the things that you think would be really helpful? And trying those things. And again, brainstorming and writing everything down, or having him write everything down, is something that's really big in our family. And then reevaluate that. So you know what? Try those solutions for a couple of weeks and then come back. Hey, what's working? What's not working? Does anyone, you know, do you or your stepson have another idea that you would like to try? Like, don't go out of a meeting thinking, oh, everything is solved and it's going to be hunky-dory and rainbows. Like it's a dynamic situation. There's push and pull, there's change that can happen in that. And so, yeah, it's never probably going to be completely solved, but you can get some good ideas of what he thinks will help him.
Well, and, you know, I like that you talked about how there's going to be like this change and that things are going to kind of keep evolving and shifting. And so, you know, with because I have, I have 2 biological children, I have 2 stepchildren. And so I just refer them all to my children, but just for clarification purposes, is that we also co-parent. So my kids are not always just here. They're also somewhere else. And so the environments are also very different. And so there's when he escalates, this conversation is really powerful. I know for a lot of the moms that are watching this right now, but also even just for myself, just knowing that, they're allowed to have this space and they're allowed to feel these big emotions, and that there's an opportunity for us to also connect and, be mindful of ourselves and also for them. And so so actually Gina, she's watching this right now. She actually asked a question before we hopped on here. And so I want to ask you this question so we can dive into this. But so Gina's comment was, I love this topic. As a parent, discipline often feels like punishment, punishing yourself too. I've always felt that there was a better way. Obviously, this is going to feel better on both sides, but please, can you expand on the positives you see for the parents?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there is nothing like it when your kid and you and your kid come together and they feel like you are on their side. Like, that is such a boost. And as you go through, like at 3, luckily I have other kids, but at 3 right now, if I was just starting out, I might look at the situation, because my youngest is 3, my oldest is 14. So my 3-year-old, if he was my first, I might look at this situation and be like, it ain't working. Because I understand now, though, that 3-year-old, I understand the brain development of a 3-year-old. I understand that, sometimes 3-year-olds just have temper tantrums because they don't know what else to do. And so as your child grows and understanding that, hey, you're not a bad parent because your kid is misbehaving, that's huge. Because you can go to bed at night after a really long, awful day and think, I'm failing big time. Or you can go to bed at night. I think I have someone coming in the room. Hi. Or you can go to bed at night thinking, oh, that was a tough day, but at least I've got some tools to manage this, right? And so, and there's just so much, even though things have gotten better in the parenting world, there is just so much that that still comes at us. I mean, I see Facebook posts all the time that are, ha ha ha, I showed my kid by putting a sandwich board around their head that, that says I stole $10 from my mom's wallet and I'm a thief. Like, oh my goodness. We're still in that mentality of shaming our children to make them do better and making them feel like shit so that they will do better. Sorry, I have a 3-year-old in the room and I just dropped.
You're good. No need to apologize.
So, just, there's still the punish your kids harder to make them better people. And when you have different ideas and different tools, you can come out of that mindset and really look at it and think, I'm so glad that I'm not there anymore.
So I love this. And there's actually another question now. I'm going to get back to some of the previous comments as well, but they keep disappearing on me. So Kirsten asked, what about for a 3-year-old who isn't able to have those larger discussions? So this was kind of back to when we were talking about like my stepson and myself. And so how do you connect with them to get them to stop an activity they aren't supposed to be doing?
Okay. So I'm a little unclear on that, but I'm going to assume that, that child is misbehaving in a way that's like they shouldn't be touching something, or...
Yeah, so I think she's referring it to as like an activity that they're not supposed to be doing. Like, so doing something that that they shouldn't be doing because it could potentially be like dangerous for them. She can probably send another comment. She's probably listening to this right now, so she can probably clarify for you as well. But that's just kind of what I have for her question here. So yeah, how do you connect with them to get them to stop doing an activity that they aren't supposed to be doing?
Okay. I can just answer that off the top of my head without being clear. But one of the things that I do is let my kiddo know what they can be doing. And so an example of that is instead of saying, don't throw the books on the floor, I would say something like, oh, books are for reading. And we would just sit on the couch and read a story or something like that.
Yeah.
And if it's escalated, there's a couple of things that I do. Stories are soothing to the brain. So sometimes if there's a tantrum, I will just grab a book and sit on the floor or on the couch. Are you going to see Dad now? Yeah. Great. Great. Can you close the door on your way out? Yeah. Thank you. So sometimes, you can just grab a book and sit on the floor and start reading, and eventually it will get through and that child will come and sit with you and just read the story. And that will soothe their brain. Another thing I have done with Gus, who we just met, is I will scoop him up if it's safe to do so, and I will tell him the story of what's going on 3, 4, 5 times, and just so it will look like, books are for reading, and no, I want to throw the books, and just scooping him up and saying, man, you were looking forward to throwing those books, and Mom said no, books are for reading, and now you look, I can tell you're really upset about this, but I'm here to help you through it. And I will say that 4 or 5, as many times as it takes for him to take that breath and melt. And so, yeah, if it's not safe to do so, and your kid has to ride out that tantrum, they are 3, they ride out tantrums and then connect with them after that.
And I love that you talked about like that moment where they go, because my 2-year-old does that.
Yeah.
When she has a meltdown, when she's doing something, when she's really in that zone. And then finally, when she goes from here and she comes down, she takes that deep breath and goes, and she kind of like centers herself. And so Kirsten actually said here, she said exactly, for example, like stop hitting your sister or don't jump on the couch, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah. So let them know, you know what? We can jump on pillows on the floor. Hands are for being gentle. Let's show your sister how we can be gentle with our hands. Also, turning things into a game. I know that lots of people have, they kind of like tell me, no, that won't work. When I'm like, turn it into a game. But your kids learn so much faster when you play instead of talk. So, turning it into a game of, how many times does it take to jump across the room? Can you be a bunny rabbit or a frog when you go across the room? Can you but we're not a bunny rabbit or a frog on the couch. We're a bunny rabbit or a frog on the floor. And just, just adding that little element of play, it makes it so it's a safe environment to make that mistake in. Yeah. As well, again, you are an ally and not an enemy when you're playing with your child.
Yes. And I love that you talked about how, they engage a little bit deeper when it comes to, playing a game, because my toddler is actually in speech therapy. And so are you frozen? Or are you good to go?
No, I'm good. Can you see me?
Okay. Yeah, I can see you now. You're moving now. And so she's in speech therapy, and what they do in speech therapy is they play games the entire time. And she has been able to connect much deeper with the speech therapist. And now she doesn't need speech therapy anymore. Like even the speech therapist said, like, wow, she's improved drastically, but I understand the whole important piece of like a game and how they learn and operate that way. So that's beautiful. And so, I love everything that, we are talking about inside of this conversation right now. And so I want to ask you this, because we're talking about our behavior. We're talking about our children's behavior. And so there was this quote, and, someone had sent me a message and wanted me to ask this part about, would you agree the sign of great parenting is not the child's behavior, but the parent's behavior?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Children are learning how to behave. And as adults, I wouldn't say we have it all together, because I certainly don't, and no one else I've ever talked to says they have it all together. But we have a way bigger handle on our behavior and our actions and how to regulate ourselves and move through our emotions and that sort of thing. And there is a movement right now, and it's a medium-sized movement, I'd say, but it's about parents reparenting themselves. And I think that's absolutely beautiful in that, as we're moving into parenting our children in a more gentle way, in a more encouraging way, we're also, being gentle and compassionate and kind to ourselves. And I think that's absolutely amazing.
I love that you brought this up because, with my father, actually this past year, the last 2 years, he has actually had a lot of, I want to call them like revelations, but almost like these aha moments where he sits back and he realizes that some of the things that he did while he was parenting me, he feels guilty for now, for the yelling, for, the certain discipline behavior that happened, and, and how it impacted me as an adult. And so I've been able to connect with my dad much deeper because of, his sincere apologies, but also the awareness of how his behavior affected me. And so I believe that this is important and that we have, the power, the choice to make a decision, to make a different decision than what our parents had also done.
You froze, darling. I don't know. Kara.
Hey.
Yeah.
I was like, what just happened? Zoom, obviously, we are breaking the internet today, guys. I told you that this is going to be a massive event. And so Facebook is like, holy hell, okay. So that's my belief behind it, is that this is so good that Facebook is kicking me off.
Right. Yes.
Okay, so what I was saying was I was talking about like the relationship that like I have with my dad now, but because of like his awareness and how he has, treated what he has done and taken responsibility for his actions, and it has impacted our relationship. We have a choice. We can make a decision that's different from our parents' decision, and we can parent our kids in such a beautiful way that allows them to feel safe and encouraged and, open to feel. We've been in a society that is teaching our children not to be adventurous, not to play, not to do these things.
Right. Don't go up the slide the wrong way, for goodness sakes.
Right? We're like, don't jump in the puddle. And I'm like, let's jump in the puddle. Let's do the experiment. I want to jump in the freaking puddle. Like I was watching a video the other day, and this gentleman was like, please, he said, I was watching people and I watched these parents like move their children from something to not do something. And I just am screaming and shouting and saying, let them be kids and let them play. Like, this is how they learn. Their environment is ever changing. Like, they look at it, the colors or the textures of things. It's all new to them. Like, it's not new to us. It's new to them. But that is a whole other topic for a whole other day, because
we'll talk about that another time.
And so I want to kind of bring everything back and really kind of start wrapping everything up. And so before we wrap everything up, is there anything else that you want to, talk to these moms about? Is there anything else that we missed that you want to ensure that we talk about?
Yeah. And this is that, when you are changing how you parent, there can be, and you're finding out new information and really digging into how punishment can affect your kids, there can be a lot of shame that comes up around that and how you have parented in the past. And I really want to encourage you to, look at yourself and forgive yourself for that. You did the best you could. And then moving forward, find somebody who is trusted that can offer you support in this, because having a judgy McJudgy pants on your ass is not going to be the way forward, right? Whether you're the judge and judging yourself, or you have a friend or a relative or somebody like that who is judging you, find someone to support you. Find that person that you can call and say, I need to talk to you for 5 minutes before I blow up at my kids. Please remind me again what I need to do. Like, just find that. I can be that person. I have been that person. I am that person for lots of people. But find that person that you can trust who is not going to shame you through this journey, and stop shaming yourself.
Yes. Oh my goodness. There is so much power in forgiveness and giving ourselves permission to, rewrite things that didn't serve us before. And so, I want to say thank you so much for, being here, for being a part of this summit, for answering not only my questions, but the questions of the moms. And so I want to encourage those who are watching this now is that you ask questions. Okay. Sarah can come back in here and she can respond with you. She's here.
Mm-hmm.
This is here for the week, you guys. So make sure you ask the questions. This is a safe place for you to do so. We're here for your expansion, for your growth. And also Sarah's here to help you with the positive parenting relationships and the expansion of those relationships. So Sarah, before we go, please let everybody know where they can find you. It's all going to be linked at the bottom to you guys. If you really resonate with her message, please, I'm a part of her community and it's incredible. And so utilize the tools, the resources that we are providing to you in this space, and let us know your feedback, your biggest takeaway from this conversation. Yeah. And like I said, ask the questions. So Sarah, let us know where we can find you.
Sure. So I do have a Facebook community, as Kara mentioned, and it is called Parenting Solution Finders. As well, I have a website, parentingsolutionfinders.com, and I'm on Instagram as Parenting Solution Finders.
Beautiful. So actually, before we go, a comment caught my eye. Okay. So Deanna actually mentioned that changing my behavior is hard.
Yeah.
So, and then she said in here that my husband and I help each other, but an outside person would be so helpful. And so, in regards to the changing of the behavior feeling difficult, what would you say to Deanna?
Deanna, you and I know each other in real life, so call me. No.
Connections are so beautiful. I'm like, what do you think?
Right? But yeah, I mean, it's so beautiful that you and your husband are helping each other. And I know Deanna personally, not exceptionally well, but so yeah, there are parenting communities locally that you could find somebody in. You and I can connect, and even, a 20-minute call just to problem solve or that sort of thing. Like, not a big deal, no problem. So yeah, I connect. Yep.
Okay, so thank you. That just caught my eye. And so I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate you for being a part of this summit. And on that note, you guys, this is a wrap up of day one. So this will be live. You can go back, take a listen, make sure you do. And like I said, thank you again, Sarah. Thank you to everybody who showed up live. Thank you for showing up for you. And also for everyone who's catching the replay. Thank you for catching the replay. And I will see you guys all tomorrow. So thank you again, Sarah, and have a great day, guys.